You don't need to escape life to feel it. For years, I thought the only way to reconnect with myself was to step away completely, to take long breaks, to walk out of commitments, to find a stretch of silence far from everything. But escape never gave me what I was searching for. It offered novelty, yes, but not presence. I came back from those pauses rested perhaps, but still numb, to the days that followed. The truth I've come to know is that feeling life doesn't come from abandoning it. It comes from entering it more deeply, right where you are. I know the ache of disconnection too well. Days slide past without ever touching you, leaving only the faint impression that something must have happened, though you couldn't say what. I've looked back on weeks that felt like shadows, wondering if I'd actually lived them or only endured them. Time passed, but it didn't register. It didn't feel real. Stephen holds himself to the rhythm of duty. He believes slowing down would betray the very people who depend on him. Once he said, "If I ease up, I feel like I'm failing them." His life is full of responsibility, yet empty of the feeling of time. Angela lives the opposite edge. She drifts from place to place, chasing escape, convinced that freedom itself will help her feel alive. But she has confessed more than once, "The more I escape, the hollower I feel when I come back." Two directions, the same numbness. Both believe presence is somewhere else. The disconnection of time unfelt is not solved by escape, nor by clinging harder to obligation. It is solved by entering what is already here, noticing the kettle whistle, feeling the weight of a pen in hand, listening to the sound of your own breath. The doorway to feeling time again is smaller, quieter, and nearer than we imagine. I once took a road trip across the state, convinced that the open road would return me to myself. I thought the miles would shake loose the numbness, that distance would deliver presence. I drove for hours, trees blurring past, radio filling the silence. But somewhere along the way I realized I had felt nothing. The road stretched endlessly, and I was as absent in motion as I had been at home. Then at a small roadside stop, I pulled over for coffee. It wasn't remarkable, just a tin-roofed café off the highway, with chipped tables and a line of locals waiting for takeaway cups. I stepped outside with mine, and as I lifted it to my lips, I noticed the air. Eucalyptus drifted heavy through the breeze. The warmth of the cup pressed into my palms. The steam rose, mixing with the scent of earth after a light rain. In that pause, I felt time again. Not because I had escaped far, but because I had finally stopped long enough to notice. Stephen once told me I don't dare slow down. If I did, I'd feel useless, maybe even guilty. His confession reminded me of myself on that road, racing for the sake of proving something, while blind to the life passing by. Angela gave me the other mirror. I book flights, I run away for a while, and then I realize I feel just as numb when I come back. Both stories reveal the same contradiction. Escape, whether into duty or into distance, cannot deliver presence. Running away doesn't return you to yourself. That was the lesson of that roadside coffee. The scent of eucalyptus, the warmth of the cup. It was all ordinary, but ordinary was enough. Feeling time didn't require quitting my life. It required stepping into it. Feeling, time is noticing, not fleeing. That truth is written again and again across the years of my journals, though it took me a long time to trust it. Time isn't something to be managed, stretched, or escaped. It's something to be entered, and entrance comes through attention. I once came across a perspective that stayed with me. Escape is geography, presence is home. You can cross oceans, change scenery, rearrange every detail of your day. But if you are blind to the moment itself, the numbness will follow you. If you attend to the ordinary, presence will meet you even in the most familiar place. Stephen admits he fears slowing because he thinks it will erase his worth. Angela admits she chases escape only to return hollow. Their words frame the universal ache, the belief that time is somewhere else when in truth it waits here, in the ordinary. I've tested this enough to believe it. When I hurried, the weeks dissolved into fog. When I fled, the weeks dissolved into novelty that faded too quickly. But when I noticed the eucalyptus in the air, the curve of steam from a cup, the texture of a page beneath my hand, time felt real again. Wasn't more time I needed, it was more presence. Time isn't waiting for you, it's waiting in you. That is the line I carry forward. The ache of numbness can't be solved by abandoning life. It can only be softened by entering it. Silence hurts more when you abandon what once gave you life. I think of a musician I once knew who played every night in small bars and quiet halls. For years he carried his instrument everywhere, strings worn from practice, case battered from travel. The music was his pulse, each note another beat in his chest. And then, one day, he quit. He told himself he needed distance, that stepping away would restore him. At first, the silence felt like relief. No late nights, no rehearsals, no pressure. But as months passed, the silence deepened into ache. What he thought was freedom became a wound. I see myself in his story. I once believed I needed to quit pieces of my life to feel time again. I stepped away from routines, from obligations, thinking the space would bring me presence. But absence doesn't create presence. It only magnifies the emptiness. Time doesn't return when we flee. It returns when we notice. Stephen has said, if I stop, I fear I will vanish. Like slowing down would erase me. His voice trembled as he admitted that truth. Angela has confessed, I keep chasing escapes, but each one feels hollower when it ends. Both spoke the language of the musician's silence, the realization that absence cannot restore what only attention can. I remember watching that musician years later when he finally picked up his instrument again. His hands were slower, more deliberate. He wasn't playing for an audience, he was playing for himself. A single note rang through the air, vibrating gently, alive in its simplicity. He looked up and said quietly, I didn't need to quit to feel alive. I needed to listen differently while I played. That moment has never left me. It reminded me that feeling time again isn't about abandonment. It's about entering what you already carry and meeting it with presence. Sometimes I think the silence we choose isn't peace at all. It's numbness disguised as rest. And when the numbness breaks, we realize the truth. What hurts more than effort is the absence of what gave us life in the first place. Running away doesn't return you to yourself. Stephen proves this each day in his duty. He believes slowing would betray everything he stands for. He once whispered, "If I stop, I'm afraid my family will see me as weaker. Or maybe they won't see me at all." The fear of vanishing keeps him moving faster. Yet he knows deep down that he is missing himself in the process. Angela, in her drifting, reveals the same paradox. "I fly off, I change scenes, I disappear for weeks," she confessed, "but when I come back, I feel emptier than before." Both of them are reaching for life while running away from it. I know this because I have done the same. I worked until I was nothing but my reliability, then I abandoned responsibilities, hoping to reclaim myself. Neither path gave me what I was searching for. The absence of duty felt as hollow as the weight of it. The detour isn't quitting. The detour isn't rushing harder. The detour is noticing presence in the ordinary, the warmth of a mug in the morning, the laughter that interrupts a meal, the softness of light across the floorboards. These things don't require you to flee, they only require you to enter. Feeling starts where fleeing ends. That is the truth I carry now. When I ran, I lost myself. When I paused, I began to see. I once wrote in my journal, "Presence is not escape, it is arrival." The words looked plain on the page, but when I lived them, they reshaped my days. Every time I stopped long enough to notice, I felt time again, and each time I rushed or fled, the numbness returned. Perhaps this is the paradox we all need to face. Presence is the smallest act, but also the most courageous. To stop fleeing and arrive, even in the smallest detail, is to resist a world that tells you faster is better. Time isn't something to fight. It's something to enter. I think of the roadside coffee, the eucalyptus scent rising in the breeze. I think of the musician who found silence heavier than music, who learned he didn't need to quit, only to listen differently. I think of Stephen, afraid slowing would erase his worth, and Angela, afraid escape would fill her, but discovering it emptied her instead. Their confessions fold into mine, reminding me that presence is not elsewhere. It waits here. The landscape feels unremarkable, yet alive. A stretch of road, a sweep of air, the quiet hum of movement. Nothing dramatic, nothing rare. And that is the point. Arrival doesn't always require departure. Feeling doesn't require escape. Life doesn't need to be extraordinary to matter. The ordinary itself can be the doorway. Its very simplicity reminds me that presence doesn't live out there, in some different place. It waits here, woven into what I already touch. Disconnection will come again, I know. There will be mornings when hours slide past without texture, when the blur creeps back, when numbness makes everything flat. I can let my attention rest on what is here, the faint scent of rain rising from warm earth, the way light trembles across a window pane, the rhythm of my own breath. Time opens then, not because it slowed, but because I entered. I once believed that escape was the only way to recover feeling, that travel, change, or breaking free would restore me. But I see now, escape only changed the scenery. It never gave me back myself. What gave me back my life was noticing what was already here. Stillness doesn't erase me, it roots me. The road bends forward, its curve hidden beyond sight. I don't need to know what waits. I don't need to fight or flee. I only need to arrive, here, now, one moment at a time. And that is enough for me.